Hi there, this is Mark Idelman, speech-language pathologist, and welcome to the teaching of talking. This video is going to be entitled Aphasia and the Art of Listening. Wow. You know, not a whole lot is written or discussed about listening skills. And listening skills are crucial in the improvement of speaking. In fact, I would put listening skills right up there at the very top of the hit parade in terms of the skills those with aphasia need to improve their speaking, and I'll tell you why. To speak again, the person with aphasia must hear spoken language. And not only must they hear spoken language, but they must be able to imitate spoken language. That's the only way people with aphasia learn how to talk again. They have to hear the model. And then they have to hear it, internalize it, and then imitate it, or what some people call mimic it. And that's the process. And that's why another person is so important in the process of speech therapy for aphasia, because the other person who's working with the person with aphasia, whether or not they're a therapist or a caregiver, must be able to model speaking in a very clear, precise way. And if you take a person with aphasia and they are only speaking in an occasional single word, then guess what? You've got to speak to them in a single word. You've got to have them listen to words that are given to them in single words. Now, not words off of a computer, because, you know, those words often are not really even necessary in the individual's vocabulary. So the person with aphasia must listen to the words that he or she needs at home or wherever they may be. And there are specific words that are very important to certain individuals. My wife and I have certain words that we use with each other all the time. And this helps in terms of our intimacy, in terms of our humor, in terms of just about everything. There are certain words that she uses that when she uses them, I know the meaning. Okay? And so therefore, pre-packaged or pre-canned worksheets or anything of that matter really don't really address many of the words that are very, very important to each individual. Okay, so why is listening important? Well, because you have to teach them how to listen again, because quite often their ability to comprehend spoken language and hear spoken language is affected, just like their ability to speak it. So just remember, their comprehension or their ability to understand spoken language is usually affected, as well as the ability to speak it. And so, when that's true, you must match the output. Okay, so if I say match the output, I mean, if a person is only speaking in occasional single words, then that's what you have them listen for and repeat in single words. If you give them anything harder than that, they won't be able to do it. So if you find that they can imitate one word, then stay with that single word for a while. And what will happen is that they'll learn how to listen for the meaning of that single word, and they'll learn to listen for how that single word is spoken in terms of their articulation. Okay, so there are two things that a person with aphasia must take from the ability to listen. Firstly, they are learning the word again, like the word eat, or the word sleep, or the word nap, or the word beer, or anything like that, okay? They have to hear it numerous times. Now, a lot of people are using what we call phonetic cues, where they'll start the word. But I don't think that's a good idea. I think the best idea is to actually say the word. And when you want to stimulate speech, say the word. Don't waste your time trying to trigger them with the way that the word starts. You may think that that's helpful, but it's really not. Because when that person goes to say a word, they want to be able to hear the word in their mind and see it. You see, so when we think of a word, for instance, like if you were to think of one of your favorite songs when you were growing up, and you were to think of a lyric, like for instance, I'm going to think of one right now. So if I want to think of a favorite song when I grew up, the title of the song was Tired of Waiting for You. Okay? Now, how did I get that? Well, I didn't get it visually, okay? I could hear it in my mind. So tired of waiting for you. Okay, so what I was able to do just then was I was able to hear the lyric from one of my favorite songs from way back when. So, when a person goes to say anything that's in their memory, sometimes it's in an auditory memory, so they hear it and then they say it. Now, sometimes a word like pneumonia, when I think of the word pneumonia, I can see that word, and it starts with a P, and Pneumonia. So you see, when we recall language, we recall it either by hearing the actual word or words in our mind, or by seeing the actual word or words in our mind, okay? So that's why it's very important that if you're going to be stimulating speech, you don't give phonemic cues. I mean, they're okay every once in a while, don't get me wrong, but the best thing to do is to let them hear the word. Let them hear that word. And sometimes what you can even do is write it on a piece of paper and stimulate the word, both having them hear it and having them see it in a large printed piece of paper. All right? So one of the reasons why people with aphasia can have difficulty listening and comprehending is because, as I told you before, if they're speaking in single words, then you want to speak with them as much as possible in single words, and chances are they'll comprehend that, and chances are they'll try to imitate that. And so when you're dealing with a person with profound aphasia, you don't try to stimulate a sentence, you don't try to stimulate a phrase. You start at a very, very simple level of a single word. And you say it, and you say it each and every day in the context of the situation, so that they hear the word, and so they can say the word because they can hear the sounds of the word as they're watching your lips. And that's why it's very important whenever you talk with someone, or whenever you help them talk, to sit about 3 feet away from them, or to have them see you about 3 feet away, and that you're saying the word slowly and you're overemphasizing it so that they can see how you produce the sound. So what happens with a lot of people with aphasia is that caregivers don't know that. And there are even a lot of therapists who don't know that. And what happens is they talk to the person with aphasia in a normal speed. And guess what? Quite often, the person with aphasia has difficulty comprehending because they can't comprehend spoken language that's spoken in a very, very, very rapid way. You have to slow things way down, and you have to simplify down to even single words. And that's one of the biggest, most gigantic mistakes that are being made by people who are trying to help those with aphasia talk. They have to hear the word, they have to see the word, they have to hear it simply. And for, even a lot of people with aphasia, with single words, you have to start at sometimes even a single syllable level, like no, or yes, or bye, or go. And that's where you start. Now, with a lot of these programs, with worksheets, which I don't particularly believe in as far as helping a person with profound or severe aphasia, worksheets is just sitting down with a paper and filling in the blanks or doing whatever you're doing or you're writing or whatever. It's not speaking. And don't think that doing worksheets is going to help a person talk, because there's no interaction. There's no interaction between a speaker and a listener. And as you're all learning, for those with aphasia who are learning to speak again, you need a person to talk to converse with. And if you don't have that, then you're missing out on one of the most crucial aspects of speaking. It's like trying to eat a hamburger without a roll or ketchup or tomato or onion. I mean, it's just not complete. It's like trying to eat spaghetti without marinara sauce. All right? So you got to know that one of the reasons why people with aphasia don't listen, or they tend to bow out of a conversation, is because they have difficulty comprehending, and what's going on around them is way, way, way too fast. So they kind of tune out. And what happens is, as you get into the habit of tuning out, then that's your modus operandi. You just don't even bother to listen because what's spoken around you is way too fast and way too complex. But when you learn something like the teaching of talking, which presents and teaches you how to help those with aphasia talk, you learn how to do it in a very simple way. And when you do it in a simple way that a person with aphasia can do, then they get used to tuning in, because you're making it easy for them. You're giving them a single syllable word or a word, and in many cases they can imitate that. And that's where you start. And that's where they start to learn how to listen. And not only do they learn how to listen, but they learn how to focus, because it's simple enough. If you give somebody a task that's too difficult, they'll tune out on you, boom, 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 before you could say Jack Sprat. could eat no fat. So that's my little message today, that those with aphasia, when you are helping them talk again, you help them easily. And that teaches them how to listen. They listen when they can perform a task. If you give them something and you have them try to listen and it's too difficult for them, they'll tune out and goodbye, Charlie. So this is Mark Idelman, speech-language pathologist. If you'd like to correspond with me or send me an email, my email is at markidelman@teachingoftalking.com. Or you can go to our website at teachingoftalking.com, teachingoftalking.com. And if you'd like to schedule a free conversation with me, you can do that too. Well, that's the end of this visit. It's been nice, and I hope you've learned a lot. Bye-bye now.